and help us to receive one another in a loving manner. We are on your team, Father, and we don't wish to serve on another. Your way is the right way. Everything is subject to you. Everything that we see and don't see, you have made. You determine the outcome of all the chaos and calamity that is taking place. There are no surprises to you, but we sometimes are tossed to and fro, Father, not knowing which way to turn other than to turn to you. We want to stay with you, and we thank you that you lead us by a pace that we can follow, and you continue to brighten our paths so that we won't stray. We are grateful to you for the mercy that you extend to us on a daily basis. And as we continue to grow and mature, we desire that how we live our lives will be pleasing before you. And that we will be able to come in your presence not in an arrogant fashion, but in a most humble fashion, knowing that you are light, righteous, holy, worthy to be praised. In your precious name we pray. And those that can agree say amen. Good afternoon, saints. And Reggie, would you put the thing up on the board? Oh, you didn't do the title? Okay. Yeah. What? Yeah. Did you do that? Well, that's all right. I think Pastor Hodge in doing Luke 6:38, the one that we all know backwards, forwards, and sideways, he talked about reciprocity. And that was in my title, but that's all right, Reg. That's that. And the title of my sharing, today is Serving Yah, or if you prefer, Serving God, will eventually bring about reciprocity. And, you know, I when he talked about that in terms of giving, and once again, that was confirmation to me that, hey, you're on the right track with this thing, because I'm on a mission to get myself and get us prepared for the coming year. I'm not discounting the rest of 2023, because we all know that this is the fourth quarter And in sports, like they always say, an NBA game, you can miss most of the game, but the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter is when they all start really playing. And it's not quite that way for us as believers. I mean, we're in the final quarter of this year, according to the Gregorian calendar. We're into November, and then we've got one more month, and it'll be all over. And I'm not going to ding-dong on it, but I hope that you've been using your manual, and I don't want to look at anybody's face or anything, but I'm tying all of this in. See, saints, we've got to get prepared because 2024, unfortunately, it's going to be another election year, but that's not why we need to get things in order. 2024, between now and the end of the year, I keep saying people are going to come to you. People are going to come to you between now and the end of the year, but they really are going to step it up in 2024. And as believers, as ambassadors of the Most High, as those, particularly those of us that study from, as we used to like to say, the Hebraic perspective, but those of us that are wanting to walk out his teachings and instructions in our lives, that's what's going to cause people to come to you. And there are, sometimes it can seem like sometimes our eyes don't show us much progress. And I'll just, and I'm only using myself as an example. I'm this way. If I want a certain thing, or I want something to go a certain way, I'm willing to put forth the necessary effort to see that thing come to pass. Now, when I put in the effort and the thing happens, I'm all right, and it's good. And I'm grateful to the Most High, and love everybody, and life is good, and church folk like to say God is good, all the time. And I used to say to myself, I said, yeah, he's good when he want to be. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I'll tell you, like most of us in here, when we put in the work, we expect a certain result. And particularly when you don't cheat in putting in the work, when you don't take shortcuts. I mean, man, when you put your whole self into something, well, most of us, we think, hey, this thing's gotta come to pass this way. And like I said, when it goes that way, you put the work and you say, it was worth it. And we on point, and life is good, and everything's good. But Barry, what is your attitude when you don't cheat, when you put in the work, and you put in even more work, because you just got to make it work, and it doesn't come to pass? What is my attitude then? Am I still saying God is good? I'm going to be honest with you. Nope. I don't think I know he's good. I know he's all those things I said in that prayer. He's all of that. But I'm not a happy camper when I put in the work, I put in the effort, and in my mind go the extra yard, and whatever it is, it doesn't come to pass. I'm pouting, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. This should have worked. You know, and if you took notes or somebody else said, well, you know, I did this and that and this and that and this and that. You know, if any of you work with, I haven't, but if any of you work with a personal trainer, you know, some of them will guarantee you, well, if you work with me, you'll do this and you'll be able to do this and do that, but you got to follow what I say. And, you know, a lot of us, we've tried dieting. We've tried this. We've tried that. And the point is, you didn't cheat. You know, and you know, in my disappointment, you know, I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna whine to him. I mean, you know, that's not fair. That's not. I didn't cheat. But I did things to the best of my abilities. And the abilities that I like to say that you gave me. Why didn't this come to pass? Serving Yah brings about reciprocity. You know, all of us sometimes, and this is what brings on some of the heaviness. Sometimes you get heavy because you're in there and you're doing your best. But what we don't notice sometimes is when we're doing our best, the effort starts to wane. You see, even in doing good things, acts of chesed, sometimes we start out like a house of fire. We start out with the mentality of a sprinter. And so, you know, maybe the first 20 yards, we're doing good. But what happens? After a while, the longer you run, the longer you sprint, you're burning up your energy. You can't, you know, now, you know, somebody like Usain Bolt, he can run at least 100 meters pretty fast, or he used to could. Now he done got a little older and he put on a few pounds, but he can still outrun me. I'm going somewhere with this. What I'm trying to get you to see is sometimes even in your well-doing, your effort is not at the same level. It begins to wane. So when it begins to wane, now in your heart and your mind, I'm still trying, Lord, I'm still trying, I'm still pushing. That's what we're seeing, that's what we're thinking. And that's what's in our heart, I'm still trying. But the energy that's needed has waned. That's why it didn't come to pass. I think about the situation about two little boys trying to get apples, you know. This is actually a true story. As a youngster, we used to go to some of the neighbors' houses. We had a pecan tree at this lodge, and some of the neighbors had an apple tree. I think one of them had a pear tree. And you know, your parents always said, well, listen, don't you go and just, take somebody's apples or whatever. You ask, can you have an apple? And they'll probably tell you, yeah, you can get one if it's on the ground. And so, you know, I halfway did what my parents said. Yes, I knocked on the door. And yes, I asked, could I have some apples? And of course, neighbors, as nice as they are, they say, yes, but, you know, get the ones off that's already on the ground. They've already fallen off, so they pretty right. Yes, ma'am. Old Eddie Haskell. That's me. For those of you that watch Leave It to Beaver. Eddie Haskell was the one that every time Miss Cleaver would come in, he always, good evening, Mrs. Cleaver. You look lovely today. You know, that kind of, you know, that's how I was in my youth. I know some of you might find that hard to believe because, you know, he's a tough old bird now, but be that as it may. But in wanting the apples, we didn't want the ones that were on the ground. We picked up a couple of them. But we started throwing branches up in the tree to knock them apples down. And it was some big ones, and we were little boys, but we couldn't get it up there. We kept throwing them up. And finally we got tired. So we didn't get those apples. My point is, of course, we were wrong for throwing the stick up in the apple tree, but we gave up. Our energy level waned. And what I'm trying to show you is sometimes, even as a child of the Most High, and you set out, today I'm going to do acts of kindness. Today I'm going to try to make myself available. I'm going to help out where I can, when I can. That's how you felt walking out the door. But on your way to work, maybe somebody cut you off. On your way to work, maybe they was too long at the light, or they were doing their makeup, or on their phone texting. And that attitude of gratitude that you had is beginning to kind of change, because now you're getting a little frustrated because you're like, I left early, and now, oh my goodness, the time is getting away from me. Can I get over in this lane? And somebody else in traffic got the same idea you got. And so, your attitude changes. Mercy. 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 Mercy, Benita. Your attitude begins to change. And you don't have that same attitude when you get to work. Now, it may not be all the way negative, but you're not as driven as you were when you first got out. But I want to say to you that when we have situations like that occur, we got to get energized. And sometimes, in order to get energized, you got to encourage yourself that, hey, I can get that attitude back. And there are about 10 or 15 things that, as a child of the Most High, that we're going to have to do between now and the end of the year, and we're really going to have to try to do these things and maintain these things in 2024. And yes, I'm going to say it now, I'm in the process. I've gotten some of those budget books, and yes, I'm going to bring them back, but I'm not going to make you take them, but I hope you do take them because, folks, you're going to really need to keep your eye on your wallet next year. You really need to keep your eye on your wallet now, but you're really going to need to next year. One of the first things is, thank you. Let's give them some scriptures first, Reg. Those two in Deuteronomy. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him and cleave unto him. Let me have the next one. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. These things need to come back to our heart and mind when somebody cut you off. When somebody says something that was just ugly. I mean, because sometimes people say ugly things to you. When somebody do something that changes your whole attitude about the day. You know, sometimes we can get so frustrated that for a split second or longer, our persona changes. Because as a child of the Most High, we all confirmed this morning, we are mighty because we're the work of his hands. But sometimes the work of his hands, we get frustrated. We become impatient. Sometimes, saints, we grow weary in well-doing. And these 10 or 15 things we got to try to maintain even if others don't return it. And that's real. That nothing sometimes can kill your buzz when you do something and it's either misunderstood, and sometimes it's just flat out not appreciated. And, I know most of us have been taught, well, if you're going to do an act of kindness, you just do it anyway. And, that's between them and God. Well, the act of kindness was between you and the Most High. And sometimes in dealing with human beings, we don't always respond the way that he would like for us to respond when an act of kindness has been done for us. And particularly here in the United States, we all at times are too entitled. Too entitled. I didn't say you. We are too entitled. In fact, entitlement is what can bring me to the point where, Father, I put the work in, I expect results. Who am I? Who am I to say that? Because I put in the results and I didn't cheat and I worked hard and I went the extra mile, I deserved the results that I was after. That's entitlement. That's entitlement. 10 or 15 things. One of the first. And this is something, please, don't think I'm saying don't help people. I'm not saying that. However, one of the first things on my list, sometimes, saints, we are too quick to offer unrequested help. Let me say that again. Sometimes, saints, we are too quick to offer unrequested help. Now, on the surface, you say, well, wait a minute, hold it, babe, I just love everybody. Well, I don't doubt that. But sometimes, saints, in offering unrequested help, you may be exacerbating the situation. That's making it worse. Sometimes when help is offered and it is unrequested, it can come off in the wrong light. Because, see, your heart may be pure in that thing. Now, of course, somebody got a flat tire, sure, they could use some help. But there are certain situations sometimes that we come running in, and we might even have our Bibles with us. Oh, let me give you the scriptures for this situation. Hey, I didn't ask you. We go, oh my God, did you hear what he said? Well, he said the truth. He didn't ask you. So what prompted you to feel like I've got to insert myself in this situation? See, sometimes, saints, wait for the invitation. Wait to see if they come to you to ask you for help. Perhaps they may be going to someone else. Maybe y'all laid it on their heart. Instead of coming to me, he might have said, go to Alan. Now, if I said, well, why do you go to Alan? Well, because they was following what y'all told them to do. So should I get all in my feelings and get my feelings hurt? Well, I offered to help, but they act like they didn't want it. Maybe they didn't want it because it wasn't from the source that they were directed to receive the help from. Because, see, sometimes, saints, when we do that, Yah is not only working on the person in need, he's also working on the person that's going to give the help. They're both learning. And so sometimes when we insert ourselves in a situation out of pocket, we'd have temporarily short-circuited what Yah was putting in place. Well, I meant well. But I'm not saying don't help people. But be careful offering unrequested help. Sometimes you can do more damage than good. Another thing. Saints, be careful of constantly doing favors just to preserve a friendship. Now, I'm not saying friends can't do favors for one another. But if you find yourself, if John and I are buddies, and we're friendly with each other. I think I don't have anything against John, and I don't think he got anything against me. John, I'm talking about you. Look up this way. I know, I'm just messing with you. But if we supposed to be buds, and the only time I'm calling John, my car ain't acting right. Can you give me a ride to, I don't know, Food Line? Okay, all right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Next week, John. Man, Donnie was telling me he and Sheila went to I ain't gonna say Ruth Chris, because I know what that answer would be. Not that they wouldn't go, they would go to Ruth Chris. And I hope I ain't getting Donnie in trouble. But man, I just want a good burger, man. And let me go to Five Guys. Now, John ain't heard from me since he took me where I needed to go. The point is, all the time I'm calling him, I always want something. He got to always do a favor. That's a one-sided relationship. Now, he's being kind if he responds in the affirmative. Say, man, Mary won't be home for, we can run by there and catch a burger. I wouldn't mind one of them burgers myself. But see, folks, take the temperature of your relationships. See, some people want to be friends with you, but it's got nothing to do with they like you and like being around you. Some people want to be friends with you just for what they might can get. And see, listen. Again, nothing wrong with doing nice things for people. Nothing wrong with that. Particularly when you enjoy that. But be careful with that. Because you don't want that as the sole basis of your friendship. Because after a while, I don't care how holy or how spiritual you are, one day that person's going to call you and it's going to strike you wrong. It's not going to feel the same. You're going to start feeling like, wait a minute now, this is getting to be a bit much here now. And in that situation, John might have a situation, but he might call Greg. He might not even call me. You see what I'm saying? Because maybe see, some people, and I know I sound like I'm splitting hairs, but in those kind of relationships where the friendship is based on how many favors you can do for somebody, eventually, if you don't get angry about it, you know what's going to happen? You're going to start keeping score. Now, I'm not saying John is doing that, but if I kept coming, he said, well, wait a minute, Barry, look, I love you and all, and you're a good guy, but, bruh, every time you call me, you want something, or you need something. Now, I know we both serving Yah, but bro, I'm starting to feel a certain kind of way. Now, see, if he were to come to me like that, now he's being real. He hasn't accused me of anything. But what he's saying is, hey, this isn't seeming, there's no, this friendship doesn't have the right balance. This friendship does not have the right balance. And if he were to say that to me, if I was a man of any integrity at all, John, you're right. I'm sorry, bro. I still need that $50 though, so let me call Donnie and see if he gonna give me that $50. I'm just joking. Saints, don't have friendships that are based solely on the number of favors you can do for that person. And again, you don't want to keep score. And among real friends, they don't keep score. But when somebody is constantly coming at you and it's one-sided, come on now. That's not right. And I'm bringing these things up because this is the kind of stuff that's going to start happening between now and the 2024. And it's going to really hype up in 2024 and probably into 2025. Another thing, believers, we do is we're always placing a priority above ourselves. And you know, again, on the surface, that seems like, oh, that's a noble thing. But remember this, someone else's emergency is not necessarily yours. And you are not always obligated, because sometimes if you're not careful, what people will do is they'll bring their wagon with their boulders in it. You got your wagon, and you trying to pull your wagon. Now they want you to pull your wagon and their wagon. And if you turn around, they might be sitting in the back of the wagon. And you wondering, man, this is tough sledding. And you turn around and you look, and they resting. Now, that's not to say that people can get tired and need a break. But the proper thing to do is, hey, Barry, can we stop for a minute? I need a breather. But some people won't do that, particularly in this country, because that's part of the entitlement. See, some people will look at you, and because you identify as a child of the Most High, they'll tell you most of these things that I'm going to share with you. They'll think, well, you're supposed to do that. You're a believer, ain't you? Oh, no, they don't say that. You're a Christian, ain't you? That's what they say. And we shouldn't let people, Don't let people do that to you. Another thing we do, and the men do this a lot when we meet. They'll say, hey, but text, let everybody know they got home. That's good. Checking in. Now, all the married fellas, they ain't got no problem with that. You know, and really, all of us are old as dirt now, so, you know, we understand. Even in friendships, too. I'm talking about, it's nothing wrong with just checking in on somebody. I mean, I know we got, our prayer list and stuff like that, but I'm talking about just occasionally. If you haven't seen somebody in a while, just give them a call. You're not trying to get in their business. Just, hey, I was thinking about you. You doing all right? I got a text 2 days ago. No, I got a text. You know how they send them pictures or whatever attached to the text? I got this thing about 2 weeks ago. And I hadn't talked to this person probably about a year and a half. But we usually would get together and either have lunch or dinner. And I was working and I had forgotten. So then they started calling around to different people, and folks was calling, hey, you better call them. They concerned about you. So I texted them back. I said, listen, sorry for ignoring the text. We'll have lunch or dinner before Thanksgiving. Miss you too. They sent a text back and said, yeah, Negro, I was getting ready to put out an APB on you. And that was the end of it. But they know that we're going to do that. We're going to get together. We're going to either have lunch or dinner. I don't care. Because I miss seeing the person. But there's nothing wrong with checking in. See, people that don't, when you check in with somebody, you care about them. You're not prying. That shows that they care. So there's nothing wrong with that. But again, don't you be the only one checking in. That thing it's gotta be a two-way street, folks. And again, I'm not talking about keeping score. Well, last time I checked in with you. No, not like that. It'll just flow like drinking a glass of water. It's not something that you're putting a lot of energy and effort in. It's just a natural flow. Another thing we do, most of us try to do, and all of us probably can work on it more. And this is being considerate of how what you say or do will affect others. Not just, well, it's the truth. That was the word. Well, okay, couldn't you have said it a little differently? See, sometimes, folks, even in just a general conversation, you can share Torah with a person and never mention a word in the Bible. I keep saying, Torah is for living. It's for life. You know, we call this thing witnessing. That's part of the church system. Just having a decent conversation with a person can be considered witnessing. Just being real. Just being kind. Just listening to a person and not feeling like you've got to hit them with your favorite scripture. Just being honest and say, well, you know, wow, that was deep. I don't have a response right now, but I feel for you. People are going to need more real reassurance from us in the coming days. Just be considerate of how what you say or what you do, how it might affect the other person before you say it or do it. Even if what you say is true. We've all heard the statement, yeah, he's an honest guy, but he's brutally honest. Now, here's a thing that's difficult. We try to do it sometimes. I know when I try to do it, I shouldn't say that. Shouldn't say never. It rarely turns out the way I had hoped. And this is, but I got to keep trying. And this one says, including someone in your plans. But you know, sometimes this is not an excuse. But have you ever had something and you wanted to go a certain way and I've just found sometimes if I want things to go a certain way, I just might as well just kind of keep it to myself and just get it done, because it'll get done exactly the way that I would hope it gets done. And the minute you share sometimes that thing, the other person takes it in a whole nother direction. Don't raise your hands. Has that ever happened to anybody other than myself? Because this happened to me a lot. And I can't use that as an excuse not to involve other people. Because some things in life you can't do by yourself. And so even in starting a business or whatever, after a while, you as one person, you can put out a good product or service or whatever, but you're just one person. Companies become billion-dollar companies by employing a whole lot of other people and training them to do it a certain way. But nowadays, people will come in, they'll take the job, and it might be a training position, but then they want to train the trainer. I got a book. I bought a book, Why So Many Companies in Corporate America Have to Deal with Opposition. And that's where employees are always kind of bucking management. Employees are employees. Managers are managers. Duh. We all need to remember that, particularly in these coming days. Because management's going to have to do a whole lot of rearranging and rethinking. And I just pray that we're all seen as valuable wherever we work, whatever we do. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. If you have created an atmosphere on your job where you're known more to complain, don't do that. If you're known for doing other things that's not seen well by management, stop doing that. Don't do that. I know it's hard to get up in the morning, but, get there on time, because some decisions going to have to be made by a lot of folk. But don't stop trying to include people. And see, when you include them in your plans, spell out to them what it is that you want from them. Because some people, they'll get in and they'll just take over if if you let them. See, that's on you. Or, I'm sorry, that's on me. Every time things went a different direction, I should have spoke up and said, well, wait a minute, that's not really what I wanted. Or that's not what I asked you to do. I know you mean well. I didn't ask for blue potatoes. I asked for red potatoes. I'm sure blue are healthier for me. But I asked you for red potatoes. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Another thing that we do that's often not reciprocated, but we got to still keep doing it. As believers, we always make ourselves available to listen to people's problems. And we should. We should. But not to your detriment. Because sometimes when you're dealing with something, you need to deal with it. And sometimes you gotta, you gotta, hey, bruh, Bro, I'm not in any shape. I'm not in any shape to hit us right now. Don't mean I don't care. But I'm not going to unload on you right now. I can't handle that right now. Can we get together next Tuesday? Now, of course, if it's an emergency or something like that, you gotta, and that comes on a little later on. But sometimes, saints, we need to deal with what we need to deal with. If you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, always have an ear, have a heart. Because sometimes you might be the only one they feel like they can talk to. But we really shouldn't feel that way. We hopefully we'll get to a place where we'll realize there's a level of maturity where I can talk to most, I ain't gonna say all, I can talk to most of the people where I fellowship. But you need to take certain things into consideration. There's more than one person that you can talk to. Might be somebody you don't talk to all the time. You might want to try them because you may get a fresh perspective instead of going to the person that you always go to because we feel like they know me and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, give somebody else a chance. Especially if it's something you really want an objective outlook on. See, because a lot of times we want things to go a certain way, so we go to the people that we think might see it the way we see it. Is that really wanting a real answer, or is that just wanting the answer that you have already determined that we want? I didn't get very far. Here's another thing that we do, and I pray that we don't grow weary in doing it. Learn to always speak well of one another when they're not present. And even if you're in a situation, and sometimes we find ourselves in situations where somebody's running somebody down that we know. And the thing a lot of us will do, we won't say anything. And I'm not saying that you should be ready to get in a fight with somebody. Well, he go to my church. And then, no, I'm not, no. Even if the least we can say is, I know Donnie Hodge. And the Donnie Hodge that I know, that don't sound like him. We could at least say that. I'm just using that as an example. But see, we could at least say that. But how many of us just be quiet and then make a beeline? Donnie, man, let me tell you, man, the brothers, they met Friday, and so you ain't come, man. They ran you down, bruh. That's cowardice. And men, we definitely shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. Ladies either, but particularly men. Oh, that's awful. See, we should know one another well enough that we can at least stand up. I'm not saying get in a fight because of something somebody said. People run their mouth all the time. I'm not saying that. But my goodness, we could at least, my goodness, what if it was your brother or your cousin or you just going, something to think about. Four minutes. Speak well of others when they're not present. And right behind that, we need to be a source of encouragement for one another. We really do. You know, how you gonna say you love me and talk about me like a dog? I don't want that kind of love. Nobody wants that kind of love. Oh, man. Let's stop that kind of stuff. Now, let's don't go overboard, too, because too complimentary, I know for me, you're too complimentary now. I'm like, what do they want? You know, because I rather, folks, really, if you want something from somebody, you stand a better chance of just being direct, coming to them and say, listen, Donnie, can I get $10? As opposed, man, I like that outfit. I mean, and I do, but man, I like that. Man, I saw that car you drive. Man, you know how people, we call it, remember they call it buttering you up? People don't like that all the time. Just, hey, what do you want? I'm going to close on this one. I still got about 5 or 6 more. But the last one I'll close on today is, folks, we're doing this, but we're gonna need to be more of this. We gotta be flexible. We gotta be flexible. See, look, Torah again. Torah is for living. Its teachings and instructions are for us to live outside of here. See, sometimes you might be late. Now I know, well, in my day, my mama had us all in church at this time and that. Yeah, but you don't know what's going on in everybody else's life. Sometimes people are late. It ain't because I'll get there when it ain't that kind of attitude. Some people don't live like that. Just because you think that way, that don't mean that's the way other people think. You don't know what people go through just to get here. You don't know that. And many of us have said things just because in a church setting it should be this, and this. Phooey. What do your neighbors say about you? What do your coworkers say about you? Do you even know your next door neighbor? How are you in the grocery store? How are you at the movies? How are you when you're driving through the drive-thru? Check your bag, because sometimes they don't give you the right stuff. See, folks, the point I'm trying to make, listen, we all get an A+ when it comes to how I'm supposed to act, how I'm supposed to look, what I'm supposed to say, all of that. We wrote the book on how to act when we come to church. But saints, that's a small part of your relationship with the Most High. I know that sounds like hypocrisy. But the things I asked you about earlier, that's more important to him, it appears, through study. How are you toward your neighbors? How are you known in your community? How are you known on your job? Would you want anybody in here to talk to some of your coworkers? His instructions are for living. They're for life. Yes, oh, it's beautiful when we come together, but a lot of things is more system. And we need to get away from that, and we need to get more into Him for real, real praise and worship. And we'll know that more when our hearts begin to warm toward one another. When real love begin to flow from heart to heart and breast to breast. That's real love. Somebody wrote, oh, that song, I'm searching for a real love. Y'all forgive me. But that came in my head. I'm just, you know. I mean, I'm not. I'm just saying. But I'm just trying to get us. I'm trying to get us to have a paradigm shift in our minds concerning what we call church. And I'm not against church, but I am having a more and more of a problem with church system stuff because it begins to interfere with walking out Torah. And see, anything that's against Torah, I'm not for. I don't care what society say. Society is changing. It's flipped everything on its head. And the way we're going, things are against Yah. God's order needs to be reinstituted in our lives and in what we call church. And take that system and kick a field goal with it. I love you. I really do. And I'm not mad at anybody. But I think we all are concerned with stuff is just getting crazy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm going to sit down, Rich, because see, later on in the list, it says something about respecting people's time. So I'm going to sit down and shut up. Thank y'all for coming. God bless you.